O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Peace and blessings, family. You're tuned into the Mind of an Entrepreneur show. I'm your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad, and we are going to be joined today with an award-winning sister. Not only award-winning because of all of her many accomplishments, which you will hear about, but because of her personality, her warmth, her ability to help people, her willingness to help people, and I can't wait for you to meet her. So sit back. We're going to hear from a few of our sponsors and give y'all time to get into the room, but I'll be back with my sister, the Monique Lisa. That's what we call her, and we'll be right back. You're tuned in to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show with your host, myself, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I am a multi-million-dollar business developer. I have developed business and real estate around the world, and I want to share with you my mental strategies, my technical strategies, and how I made it in the world of business. So I don't teach theory. I tell you about my life and introduce you to people who can also share with you what they've done to become successful. This is a practical show. This ain't a theory show. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned. I need you. Blessings, family. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Sajdah Wendy Muhammad, and y'all know that I have been on a mission to introduce to you these wonderful emerging new market leaders and industry disruptors from the Mo Today Black Muslim Business Directory. And so I'm working on new platforms and other ways to get the word out there about you. So we picked 19 shows to test out on our new Roku network called Mo Today. So if you have Roku TV, and if you bought a TV in the last 2 years, they're all equipped with Roku at this point. Go out there and add the Mind of an Entrepreneur show to your channel list. The icon's gonna be Mo Today, and you should see it right here in the corner. And get access to the channel, and you will start to see some of our wonderful shows that are listed up here on our new Roku channel. This is just a little tester. Let's see if y'all like it. Let me know in the chat what you think, and go out there and add the channel to your Roku lineup. Let me show you what it looks like to your Roku lineup. Let's see, it'll look like that. There it is. Peace and blessings.
And I'm saying this to all of us. Our people are ready to spend their money with their own. There's no time better than this for 6 or 8 of you to pool your money and look in the community and open up a store to fulfill the needs of our people, and we will support you. It's your time now. That's being a man. Supporting your own people that are in business. Going into business yourself. Think out of the box. What can you create that will put black people to work?
To share with you some of the magnificent and triumphant teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When we say magnificent and triumphant teachings, these two words, magnificent and triumphant, are adjectives that describe the teaching of Elijah Muhammad. That which is magnificent is that which is supremely great. That which is triumphant is that which is powerful enough to overcome obstacles. Think of it, black man and woman. There is a teaching in America for you that is supremely great, meaning that it is a teaching above all other teachings that have ever entered the ears of a black man and woman.
All right, y'all, let's get into it. I'm going to introduce you to my sister, the Monique Lisa. We're here today on the Mind of an Entrepreneur show. I'm your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I think y'all know enough about me. Listen, my sister, I want y'all to call her the Monique Lisa. That way you can remember how to reach her too on social media. She's a writer, a producer, a director of stage and film. She's been nominated, get this, 43 times as a playwright. And she's won 23 different awards, and probably more awards than what she's saying, for her skills as a writer. And so we're bringing her to you today because we want to get that book up at you. And she wants to help you get your book written, get your play out there. And she's got some phenomenal services so that y'all don't have to keep saying, I want to write a book. I'm working on a book. She's going to be right here with us. Let me bring my sister on. Sis.
Grand Rising. Man, forgive my voice. I am working it out. I didn't want to cancel because you know how much I love you. I'm working it out. Just gotta do what I gotta do. But
you're always cute, girl. You still cute. It's okay.
Thank you. So good to see you. Sending my hug.
Yes, virtual hug to you and the family. How's my brother doing?
He's doing well. You know, we're in the middle of this film project, so got to keep working on it and making sure that everything is in place. So been doing a lot of traveling, and you know what happens when you travel, you're around people and they may not necessarily stay home when they're not feeling well. So
you really got to protect yourself, sis. Load up on the vitamins and wear your mask.
Yes, and yes, exactly. I received that. Yep. Exactly. But it is so good to be here.
I'm excited. I know so many people, sis, who are always talking about they want to write a book. They got this kind of production. They're a poet. But before we get into that, I got to celebrate you a little bit. Okay. I got to give you some flowers, my sis. You know, we connected through power networking conferences, and it's one of those things where you meet somebody and you just know, look, that's my sis. And it's just that way. And so I'm so grateful to know you and my brother Delano, and just to be in your family and have you in mine. But I want to go back a little bit, because I know I called you an entertainment industry icon. And people like, well, who is she and why they call her that? And I just get a kick of hearing all the things that you've done in hip hop and your contribution to hip hop. So let's talk about that a little bit. Tell the audience about that.
Wow. Well, I have not, I haven't spoken about my part
I
in
know.
history
I know.
in such a long time. And what kind of triggered any recent conversations is I was meeting up with a group of friends in DC. We hadn't seen each other since the wedding.
Okay.
And we went to the African American Museum of, in DC.
Right.
And just before the end of the tour, we went into the room that's dedicated to hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I walk in, I see myself on the wall. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is this about? And come to find out, I'm actually in 3 different museums for some TV shows and movies and things I had done early in the early stages of hip hop. And so I think for me, it was such an honor to be remembered in that way. The groundbreaking TV shows, the groundbreaking movies, all of the people that had played a huge part in where hip hop is today in terms of just its foundation. So I started out, I want to say between 13 and 14, rapping, just doing what kids do when they hear something that is phenomenal. It's different. And so I've just been there from the beginning. I want to say as early as 1978.
You didn't even know you were becoming a part of history, right? You just hanging out in New York, just being a part of music. And tell us who some of the people you've worked with.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, I was in the first movie, Beat Street. So Africa Bambaataa, Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, Melly Mel, the Treacherous 3. My goodness gracious. There were so many of them, so many legends in one place to do the movie Beat Street. And then after that, also Crush Groove. I was one of the 3 young ladies that was the dates of the Fat Boys. So the Fat Boys, Run DMC, Houdini, Curtis Blow, even New Edition was in the movie. Who else was in there? UTFO. So that was just amazing to me because you don't realize that you are a part of history, or you don't realize you're making history when it's happening. You're just a teenager having fun. In the studio with Salt and Pepper. I don't even know if they remember. I just walked in because I had a meeting with their producer at the time, Herbie Lovebug, and they were doing my mic sounds nice, check 1. And I'm listening to this like, oh, I like this. Next thing you know, I'm hearing it on the radio. So just went to summer school for math, advanced math with Dougie Fresh. So just a lot of history, things that as I talk about it, I'm like, oh, wow, I really was there. I really did this. So it was great to see myself in this historic museum. When you look at the history of our people, we have such an incredible, rich, hidden history. And because of someone's diligence, they remembered the part that hip hop has played in our history, and being a part of it. That meant a lot to see that accidentally, because I did not know I was in it. And now to know that there are other displays and other museums. There's even one in the Bronx, and also the Smithsonian. Like who knew that things that I would have done would be in such historic places. So very, very happy about that. Very happy about that.
Interesting, sis, because I'm all about preserving our history.
Yes.
There's that period of time, and I talk about this all the time, in the Great Migration, when the urban cities were developing, where so much of our history was written, that we're really at a point where it could potentially become extinct. Because as gentrification happens, and I'm not against gentrification, I just realized that we need to start to tell our story.
Yes.
We need to monetize our stories. It's important that you tell that story about yourself, because sometimes we just hold it and we go, okay, it's not really that much. But when you think about it, it's historic, and it's important that people know. Otherwise, it's going to be written out, and it will just look as if after slavery, there were a few years and then that was it. Then you get that little pop with the civil rights movement, which is already starting to be written out.
Right.
And we have such a rich history. Hip hop, I don't have to tell you, has contributed to the culture of the world. You know,
Yes.
when you travel around the world, everybody either wants to be with us or like us, and they're mimicking our culture. And so that's why the work that you're doing as a producer, as a writer, as a playwright, and helping people to get their stories out is so critically important, sis. So I want to thank you just as your sister for what you're doing. And I can tell that you've always just kind of been this quiet force sort of in the background, and you're popping off names and we're like, wait, what, who?
This is true. This is true. And, it's been a difficult, I want to say, past 5 years, because a lot of people that we've lost, who were part of the pioneer movement, their stories weren't told.
Right.
Kango Kid and I were very good. We dated probably for like 2 months before Roxanne came out, and we just lost him. We literally lost him. I want to say December 18th of last year. And then Ecstasy from Houdini, we lost him as well. COVID. Kango Kid was cancer. Ecstasy was COVID. And then Andre Harrell. I remember the day that Andre Harrell auditioned for Russell Simmons to be a part of Rush Management. And he came in as Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And then to see him go on to be the CEO of Uptown Records. And then also that's how we have a Sean Combs, because someone gave him a chance. He was also an intern. So LL Cool J, same thing, to see him go on to acting. I remember him, he had something, and I don't want to reveal what that is until I talk with him, but we were 17 and he had something and he put it somewhere in Russell's office and said, I'm not going to move this until it becomes a hit. And it became a hit. So all of these different things that, happen, you don't realize it. It's just like, you don't see the forest because of the trees when you're in it, or if you're, in the frame, being part of the picture, you just don't really see the impact that you have. You just think, oh, it's just Monday. It's just another thing. You don't realize it.
Our building commissioner said one time that our history happens on everyday blocks in everyday communities with everyday people. And that's why it's important that we celebrate it. Tell us about the work that you're doing with aspiring authors and playwrights, and how that contributes to what you just talked about, helping people tell their stories. You all didn't know you were part of history. All these people you're naming that now have transitioned on. How do we, and this is a two-part question for you to tell us about it, but also how do we make sure that we're documenting our history and also monetizing it?
This is true. This is true. The first thing I would say to answer your question is understanding that your story matters. And I'm gonna look right into the camera. Your story really does matter. There are so many people that don't know, after telling me their own story, how it impacted me, how it inspired me, how it helped me, how it guided me. We cannot do anything that we do without our village, without our community, without our tribe. And when we tell our stories, that is how we continue to be relevant in a world that would like to take away our relevancy. I think part of the problem is that some people think, oh, it doesn't matter. It really does matter. It really does matter. I know that inspiration can come from anywhere. I know that if anyone knows about A Raisin in the Sun, Lorraine Hansberry was a very young writer. When she passed, I dare say she was 30. She may have been 31. But A Raisin in the Sun she was inspired to write that through another poet, Langston Hughes. He did a poem called Life Ain't Been No Crystal Stair. And he says, what happens to a dream when it's deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? That's where she got that inspiration. You just never know where that spark will come from. So if you're sitting there thinking that you have to reinvent the wheel and that inspiration can't help you to get that book out, you're wrong. Music can help you to get your story out. Going for a walk, you might see something that inspires you. I think people just don't know where their point of entry is. Where does the story start? And once the story starts, where do you go from there? So I'm really gifted in helping you to not only bring the story out. I feel like I'm a storyteller midwife. I can help you to birth that story, but it's already in you. And some people say, well, I don't want to be an author. Everyone's not going to be an author, but everyone has a story to tell that will inspire someone else and help them. We think about the hairstyles that we wear. And it sounds like I'm going a little left, but the hairstyles that we wear, we think cornrows are beautiful, but we don't know the story behind that. It was created to be a map. That is a beautiful story that no one has even written yet. That our hairstyles were not just for us to look beautiful. We were already beautiful, but it was a way of escape. And so people who think that our story starts at slavery, our story started way before slavery. Matter of fact, slavery was a hiccup in our story. It was something to detract us and pull away from who we really are. And so I speak to the heart of the person who says, I've been trying to tell my story for years. I've been trying to show how relevant I am. You were relevant before you told your story, but in telling your story, you give generations of people a starting point of where they can now expound on their relevance. If I didn't know about all of these different inventions that have happened, I wouldn't see the beauty of our people. Our stories really do matter. And if you are someone who wants to tell your story, I definitely can help you. But it's a matter of you understanding how important it is for you, for your family, for your generation, for our community, for our tribe, our village in this world. So inspiration comes from anywhere. You can be inspired by even a picture. But you gotta be able to document your story. Yeah.
Says, give me your website so I can have it up here while we're talking. I should have had
Sure.
that.
Do you want me to drop it in the chat?
Oh yeah, just drop it in the chat. Then we can.
Drop it in the chat.
So while you're doing that, here's the other part that happens to people. Like you said, we don't see ourselves as relevant, oftentimes, but yet, I think I heard the minister say that many of us have best-selling novels and books and novels and movies up inside of us just based on our life. A friend of mine and I were talking the other day, and he said to me, there's nothing new under the sun except you. And so your unique story, I was playing around with numbers and just thinking of myself. And I started saying, wow, I feel like some of my life has already been written. And so it's so important, to get the story out. That's why I do this show, sis. In 2009, when I started doing this, I was on the road traveling as a business consultant. And I was pretty much by myself, but I was experiencing such incredible, iconic things that I wanted to document it. I wanted people to know about it. And so I just started saying, okay, I'm just going to do a podcast. Nobody was listening. Nobody was watching. And off of that little podcast of me starting to tell my story about my journey as an entrepreneur, I probably have gotten a few $100,000 worth of business opportunities. It's a way for people to see me. So sometimes we get caught up on, well, it's not enough likes. And people will ask you, well, why? I had somebody say to me, like, why do you do this? Because ain't nobody looking. And I say, you have no idea the opportunities that I've gotten just from telling my story on this podcast, starting out on Blog Talk Radio, then on syndicated radio in DC, and now on YouTube. More people that have clicked and said, I saw you, I watch it, I like it. I think that's important. I just put up here that, because I love when you said that, the storyteller's midwife. I love that.
Yes. And I was trying to reach for some of the books that I've worked on or helped to work on for people who didn't even know they had a story. I mean, stories like this, stories like this. This one here. It's called At What Point Did I Let My Husband Die? She didn't even know she had a story in her. I'm looking at a few more stories that I can't reach, that they're not close enough to me, but over 54 books of people who just were like, I know I have something to say. I just don't know how to say it. And sometimes what happens is people, it's not so much procrastination. It's it's not that they don't want to do it. They don't know how to do it. And I tell people all the time, Michael Jordan, as great a basketball player he is and was, he said he could not have done what he did without Phil Jackson. Sometimes you just need a coach, someone, sometimes you just need someone to guide you. I know people who have notebooks that are filled with information. They just don't know how to organize it. And so you have an imprint, just like we all have our own fingerprints. You have an imprint to leave on the world. And the late Dr. Miles Monroe said the richest place on earth is the graveyard, because there's a lot of people who leave here without ever telling their story. Yeah.
That's exactly right. You know, sis, and I'm going to go technical, metaphysical
Sure.
on us.
Sure.
You know, now we live in a data-driven world. We live in a world where somebody can come out on the news and say something and it can impact the whole world. Your story, it's dropped into the algorithm, can change the algorithm. So instead of worrying about, you know, yes, we're in a market-based economy. Yes, it's capitalistic. People are worried about, you know, following the trends and having followers, but it's your story that can disrupt an algorithm
That's right.
and help you to attract the abundance and the wealth and the love that you're looking for. It's all vibration, it's all energy. And once we start to get that and understand that you are 66 trillion some odd years old, and I have this affinity, sis, with horses and peacocks. And people ask me, I know that every time I've materialized on this earth, I've either been with horses and or peacocks. And people think I'm crazy. They like, okay, she's a little wonky. But I know that when I tell my story, I'm not just telling my story. I'm telling the story of generations of people that have deposited in me and rolled forward. So just by you telling that one little story, that book, you don't know how many generations back you are pulling that energy into this current algorithm.
Yes.
And you can make a huge difference.
This is true. This is true. And there is a lot of noise in the marketplace. There's a lot of information being passed back and forth. But you know, sometimes I think people think, oh, well, everybody's writing a book. And the one thing I say to that, and with all the noise in the market, is that have you ever gone into a supermarket and saw one brand of bread,
Right,
one brand of milk, one brand of cookies? No, everybody is jockeying for position in the marketplace, and one company cannot, provide or produce a product just for everyone. The only thing that is literally just for everyone is air. Other than that, we have preferences, we have choices, we have desires. We can choose what we want. So I may pick up 5 books that tell you how to write a book, but maybe only one will resonate with me.
right.
So you cannot allow yourself to think, oh, someone else did it. Someone else has got that covered, because there's only one Sajdah Wendy Muhammad who's bringing you entrepreneurs who are doing something in the marketplace. And there's really only one you. As much as I love to see twins and how cute they are, they're still different.
Yeah.
They're still different. You know,
Yeah.
they're still different. So never think that with the noise and the minutia that's in the marketplace, that there's no place for you. There's no one person that can serve 7 billion people. There's no one product. There's no one TV show. There's no one song. You know, we all have very diverse taste. We have very different desires. And so I'm looking at, have a stack of books, and every author that I work with was different. You know, every kid's book. I have beautiful kids books, authors that, you know, I have one author in particular, her name is Miros Suara. And Miros, it's so funny because all she wanted to do was give kids that cross over the border that she assists as a social worker. All she wanted to do through her books was give them a dream.
Yeah.
And that was her inspiration. And now 5 books later, in over an 18-month period, 5 books later, someone who had to teach herself to speak English She has 5 books and she has products. And we even talked about turning one of her books into a coloring book. Now she has a dual book. I don't know too many people who were thinking like that. That's her path. That's
Mm-hmm.
what she is. And so, to think that one of my authors who just published, the one that said, "At what point did I let my husband die?" She was really talking about she had the power of prayer and she didn't use it.
Ah,
She was by his side, but she wasn't in the spirit with him.
that's
And
beautiful.
so it's a testimony of what she had to deal with mentally.
Mm.
There are lots of widows and ministries and there's a lot of stuff out there. But her book is unique because she's actually apologizing and empowering anyone who's a widow to say, don't let the opportunity pass to be by the person's side and really be with them in the spirit.
Mm.
I have another author. Um, there's another author who she wrote a poetry book, and the poetry it was healing for her relationship, but she wrote it through poetry.
Yeah.
It's called "The Salt of My Tears."
Mm.
So everybody, I mean, you don't know. I have an author now, and I absolutely love this story. It's called "I Am Ugly."
Mm.
Her book is called "I Am Ugly." And I don't want to give away what that means,
That's
but
bold.
how many people can identify with that? And you could feel like you're drop dead gorgeous, but still identify with a book that's called "I Am Ugly." So
Yeah.
there's no one book, one story, one situation, one product that can service everyone.
Right.
And so I call myself a storyteller midwife because I, it is so incredible how I can hear the instructions for each person as I speak to them. I
Mm.
can hear the instructions. Like I have a program called 13 Words to Authorship. You give me 13 words and I show you how to turn that into a book. I show you how
You
to
know,
turn that
sis,
into a
as
book.
I'm sitting here talking to you, I know we're communicating telepathically.
Yeah.
And I know that you truly are a midwife for the creative,
Mhm.
and you truly are a conduit. And what I'm hearing is that you're providing a safe space for people to be able to create. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it's funny because every time as you're talking, I have my next question in my head, and then you went there. And the next question
Mm.
was, what's a process? I mean, and it just kept going. And I just said, when the creative is flowing, and I'm telling you all, when you get with somebody like Monique and you want to write your book, and it doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter who you are, she's going to help to pull the creator up out of you and clear the pathway. She is truly that as a midwife, a creative midwife. you
Yes.
you provide that safe space. And you were going to go into my next question before I interrupted you, was going to be, what is the process? And you talked about 13 words, and I wanted you to just speak on, just give people little hints on what I don't want us to give it away, because I want them to go out and get your program, whether you're ready to write a book today or not.
Mm.
Go to her website and set up something and talk to Sister Monique, because um, this is so important for us right now in this little blip in our 66 trillion year history, that this story be told. This little blip right
Mm.
here is almost becoming extinct. But
This
so talk
is
about those processes, sis.
this is true. What I love to do, whether I have a group of people or if I work with an individual, I like to hear people's heart. I want to know, why do you want to write the story? It's important for us to write our stories, but I want to know why the person wants to write a story and who is their audience. Who
Mm,
who do they feel like they're writing the story for? And if they're writing for themselves, that's okay. That's okay because you are important enough to write a story for you, and it may touch millions of people even if you just wrote it for you. And
yeah.
so after I speak with the group or the individual, then I ask for specific information based on what they shared.
Mm,
Sometimes I just may say, give me 5 words that really, really demonstrate the pain that you went through. Give me maybe 2 words that outline the technical piece that you want to write, because this is just not just for your biography. This is for self-help. This is for any even technical manuals, because what's going to happen is people are reading the information, but they want to know that you've done case studies and this information works for you as well. So autobiographical biographies, kids stories. I do a 3-day boot camp for kids authors. I worked with one of Hollywood's top stunt coordinators and actors, and she has about 400 films under her belt. And we cried through the process of writing her children's book, because she understood how important it was for her to encourage the next generation of stunt performers. And so for me, the process really is listening. What are you saying to me through your words, through your actions, through your body language? What are you saying to me that helps me to understand the type of story that you want to write, the type of self-help book that you want to write, the type of information that you want to put out there? There's a person who wanted me to help them because they're a death doula. A handbook on how to help families going through the hospice process. So there's really no limit on it. I have someone who's working on a novel, and beautiful story. It's a novel, but she's had that in her heart for 15 years. And now it's a murder mystery kind of thing. And it has nothing to do with her life. And the one thing I had to show her and teach her was that the lead character wasn't her. So she had the freedom to be who, or write for this character and be who they needed to be as a character. She could personify, but she didn't have to make the character herself. And so there really is no limit on that. I really feed off of the person. And I had someone who finished a book with me in 3 days. I had someone who finished a book with me in 12 days. I had someone that they're entering into their second year. So it just really depends on the person. The process is going to unfold as we speak, as we talk. And I'm actually venturing into thinking of how do I help authors who are autistic after working with an autistic author. So there's no real limit. If you're faith-based, if you have some kind of story that you need to get out, whether it be about you or not, I'm intuitive enough to find a way to pull it out of you. And that's where the midwife part comes. And then also I teach people how to tell their story in 3 dimensions. So I have a course that I put together after about 28 years of my personal experience. It's called the Extreme Killer 3D Writing Course, where you are telling your story in 3 dimensions. You literally are telling your story the way we live as human beings. Everyone has a basement story. Everyone has that 30,000 foot view. Everyone has that backstory. And so when we don't write flat, which is to give commentary, and we actually write in the dimensions that we live in, these are the stories that sell, and not just sit on someone's shelf or sit on Amazon and not do anything. So I really try to stay in that mode and make sure that people are pulling out the stories that need to be told, not just the one they want to tell. So that's the process.
That is so beautiful, sis. I just want to thank you. I know you're not feeling well. I'm not going to drag this out. You are phenomenal. I'm just thinking as you're talking, I said, creative midwife, creative doula, you're a conduit, you're a creative intuitive. You have amazing telepathic abilities. You're an energy reader, all of that. What better person is there to help people to harness the creative? And again, I honor the God in you, and I thank the God in you for bringing you forward. Yes, ma'am. For bringing you forward, for, us connecting, just at Power Networking Conference. Because you know how it is. You go to Power Networking Conference, or all these conferences, you meet so many people, but you don't just necessarily connect. And I know, and I'm going to just give my own testimony about you. You don't even know this. I may have told you. I think a couple times when I've been on the panel or done and speaking or whatever at Power Networking Conference, there's so many powerful people there that you get off stage and you don't really know how well you did. And when I came walking towards you and Delano, you looked at me and you was like, you represented, you killed it. But it wasn't just from It wasn't from a cheerleading, linear thinking type of way. It was you zoned right into my soul and you just fed it. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna break down and cry right now in front of
Mhm.
at the main table. I can't be over here boo-hooing. But you just
Mm.
I knew that you had that gift when you did that. And then even later you just, you said it and you would say it in different ways. And I knew it wasn't fake. I knew it wasn't phony. I knew it wasn't stroking. It was really the God in you saying, let me go to the God in her and let her know that she's all right.
And let me tell you what happened. And thank you for saying, let me tell you what happened.
Okay.
I was listening to what everyone says because I'm interested in what people have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to hear if you were peddling vitamins or if you were giving painkillers. And
Oof.
you were giving painkillers. You were speaking exactly to what needed to be said. And a lot of people don't do that. They want to dance around things and they want to give cute answers instead of just speaking to people's soul. And so I didn't taste any vitamins in my mouth. You were giving painkillers. You were reaching right where we because I know it wasn't just me.
Mm.
I know it wasn't just me. You were speaking to everything that was happening. You were answering concisely and you were representing. And I always applaud that because when you take the time out to be at a conference, you don't want to walk away tickled. You want
Yeah.
to walk away impacted. And the
Mm-hmm.
difference between impact and tickle is I might laugh for a few seconds if you tickle me, but if you impact me, I'm walking away and I'm taking this home and I'm thinking about it and I'm writing. I'm
Mm.
encouraged, I'm inspired, and now I'm empowered to do something. And
Yes.
that was the difference. So flattery is nice, but you can't do nothing with that. You
Yeah.
can't do anything with flattery.
Yeah.
But if you move me and you say something that's impactful and I can use that information, I'm not just dealing with a tickle. I'm actually dealing with power. And so you spoke powerfully from the stage. You were the only woman up there. You spoke powerfully from the stage and everything you said was exactly what we needed to hear.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful. And y'all, I was sitting next to her husband, the love of her life. And she was like, no, you killed him in front of
yes,
him. So it was nothing phony about it. And he's
not at
a good
all.
person,
Not
but
at all.
he wasn't balking. He was nodding too. So I was just grateful
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
like I said, a lot of times, as women or you go to these big conferences, you just don't know. And I
Yeah.
love that, not peddling vitamins and giving out painkillers, because for me, what's important is that I've been blessed with such a rich life. And so to pull from my life and to just say, I've already bought and paid for some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I may as well give it to you.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
don't have to buy and pay for it.
This is true. No, this is true. And I I think for me, there I feel like there's a movement that needs to happen. And it's women that are not interested in just what's happening in the outer appearance of who we are, but
Right.
what's really happening in our hearts. How are we moving this next generation of women? How are we impacting the next generation of children?
Hmm.
And if it's just surface things, oh, you look cute, or if it's just surface things, they're going to be just as confused when they start having children and when
Oh,
they start getting into relationships. They're going to be just as confused because there's no substance. If I'm hungry and you keep giving me water, I'm not thirsty, but I can remain hungry. And I think a lot of people remain hungry. And
yeah.
that is not the purpose of us being here. We're called to feed. And if you give me junk food, you might be feeding me, but if you give me junk food, I will never have any real sustenance. And so I feel like you're part of the movement of women that is going to be giving sustenance and not junk food and not just water when I say I'm hungry. I need water. Technically, we shouldn't be able to live 3 to 4 days properly without water because things start to shut down. But if
Right.
you give people sustenance and then you give them living water, I think they'll make it.
Yeah,
But,
they'll make it. That's right.
they'll make it. Yeah.
Sis, again, I want to thank you. I'll be reaching out because I want to invite you. I'm putting together some mastermind um,
Awesome.
classes, and I got to have you in as that creative conduit, because one
Awesome.
of the byproducts of byproducts of the mastermind workshops is that I want people to leave with an assignment, you
Yes.
know, a divine assignment, not just go and list out your goals or let me sell you something for $4.99. I want to pour into people and add value. And that $4.99 and then some. I just believe, because I believe in God too much to give up on him, that it'll come back.
Mhm.
It'll come back. So
I
thank
love
you,
it. I
sis.
love it.
We
Thank
got your
you.
website up here. Feel
Yes.
better.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to see you.
Energy.
I can't wait to see you again because we
Yes.
had such an amazing connection. And when you love people, I love you.
Yes.
I'm weird like that.
Yeah.
When I know you love people and you give genuinely, it draws me because then I want to help in every way I can. And that's just who I am.
Well,
When
we'll
you
get together and hang out because I know when the creative stuff gets to flowing and we hang out. So we'll figure that out when things. I know I won't say when things slow down for you. I'll just say maybe pop in. We'll do like a 2-3 day hangout,
that'll be awesome.
create something, and then go from there. Because I believe that when God connects you with somebody, it's because it's something that He wants to do through the two of you. So we can't throw that away. And I know we get busy and sometimes we fall off, but let's figure out our schedules and figure out how we can pop in and do a couple day thing. I don't mind. It's just one of me. I can pop up to New York and we can hang out.
I would love that. I would love that. And to your audience, to your listening audience, stay tuned in to Dr. Wendy Muhammad. Stay tuned in. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of noise. But when you have people who genuinely want to share information with you that can change your life, don't just walk around this earth like a ghost with no spirit, with no soul. Stay tapped into and tuned into the people who are making a difference. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, sis. Get
Thank
better.
you. I will.
Love you.
Love you too. Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Blessings. Man, that was my sister, the Monique Lisa. Her website is here, Monique Lisa Productions, but it's Monique Lisa Prod.maestro.com. It's right here on the show, on the screen here. It's also in the chat, so cut and paste it. Go to her website. Even if you're not ready right now, I guarantee you when you go to her website and you start hearing, you start realizing you should be ready. You need to get ready. Doesn't matter how old you are. She takes people of all ages. You could say, look, it's a little late in life. I'm older. No. This every time is the perfect time. So go out there, figure out what classes you can take, figure out how to do some one-on-one coaching with the Monique Lisa, and let her do what she does and trust the process. Okay, family. So with that, make sure that you're going out, get your commemorative Elijah coin pendants. Stay close because I'm going to explain how the owners of the pendants will have specific access to the house. Doesn't mean that it's not just open where you're going to be just flowing through and hanging out in the house. It's going to be for a registration process. So you'll only be able to make a reservation to attend the tour if you are in our database as a coin holder. So the information is going across the screen here at the bottom. Remember, it's important that we preserve and monetize and control our history. And this is just the beginning of this movement that I have been inspired to facilitate in terms of preserving and monetizing, again, controlling and telling our stories. So with that, make sure you add us on Roku TV and tune in on Saturday to the Sajdah Wendy Muhammad Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. Can't wait to see you all there. And look, y'all see the scrolling at the bottom. Make absolute certain that you go out and get your coin. We need your support. Finish line is in sight. We're almost there, and we can't wait to share with you what's been so inspirational over the last 3.5 years. All right. Peace and blessings.